Hi, and welcome to Chips Tips, where today we're going to be exploring that dilemma between leading and managing. Are you a leader? Are you a manager? I'd like to begin today's exploration, today's journey, with a statement. Some of my colleagues have said to me, "Oh, that makes sense. It's actually rational and it's pretty obvious." Other colleagues have said to me that, "Ooh, that statement seems a little controversial." I'll let you decide. My statement is this: being senior in an organization does not make you a leader. Your job description, your title alone, is not the thing that convinces most people from their experience and their understanding that you are a leader. There must be other attributes, other elements that go into people's perception of someone truly being a leader. Now, in your role, it also requires you to be a manager. So how do you balance those things? For today, we're going to get a chance to actually make some sense of all of that, to arrange it all in a way that makes sense for you. It doesn't matter what the books say, what the seminar presents, what the class presents to you. What matters is how you make sense of that in terms of your role right now within your organization. So that's where we're going to begin. Today's journey is going to have 3 steps or stages to it. The first stage will include gathering of information from as many sources as possible. The second stage will then include putting the information in some form of structure, a framework. The third stage will include, how do we take action on this? Let's begin at the beginning. As an executive coach, my counterparts, the women, the men, the people who I coach, I encourage them all to begin a journal of their leadership journey. By journaling, it helps them to be able to capture thoughts, ideas, challenges, where things went well, where they didn't. They get an opportunity to reflect on their experience. Those reflections are very important for being informed for forward steps. So my encouragement to all of you is to grab something to begin creating your leadership journal. One small suggestion, though, is try to separate it from your daily to-do list. Make sure there's a separate way for you to be able to track this very specific and important thing for you. On to step number 1. Stage 1, step number 1. Where do we begin? Well, in your journal, please take a page, or for some people, they have a preference for using 2 pages so that each one is clean. Take 2 pages. What you're going to do is, if you're using 1 page, just draw a line to cut the page in half. For some people, it'll be a vertical line. For others, it may be a horizontal line, as you choose. On one side, or 1 page, write the words leading, leader. On the other page, or the other side, write the words managing, manager. Your task for this section of things is now to use your own point of reference, your own thoughts, your own experience, and write down the qualities, characteristics, and attributes of managing, the qualities, characteristics, and attributes of leading. From your own perspective, let's begin there first. That's an important place to start. Take your time. There's no need to rush. Really reflect on it and be sure to populate those ideas as much as possible from your own experience. Once you've topped out, you've exhausted your ideas around that, then begin to expand your search. Now include some online sources, maybe a book or 2, a webinar, even checking in with some of the people around you. A really important resource that you have is or are your HR professionals in your business. They can give you some insight into expanding your thinking about those things. So now You've accumulated a rich bank of information. Next, I'd like you to step back for a moment and reflect on what have you learned so far about your own perception, your own expectations? Where did they align with other people's perceptions? What are some distinctions between those two things? Because remember, those attributes that cut across both sides will not stand out to people. Those elements that create clear distinctions, those will stand out in the minds of others. So, what do you learn from reflecting on those things? Now we have a rich bank of information and we also have reflections on that. Time for step or stage number 2. And in stage number 2, we're going to now start placing the information in a framework to make sense of it. Now that we're in stage number 2, we get a chance to organize the information along 2 fundamental ideas. The first idea is that of relationship. The other idea is that of time. Now the relationship factors we'll go through for this occasion are the relationships of managing and leading, and the time factors are current and future. And the future represents 12 to 18 months from now. For some people, they like that way of presenting it. Some of my other counterparts actually have a preference for seeing the conflict in the dynamics. So here's another way of presenting that information or arranging that information. Some counterparts find that the visual is easier to put together when it really reflects the dynamic tension between the ideas. So for this one, you'll notice that the relationship line goes along the center and the dynamic tension is between managing and leading. The timeline goes along here and it's the dynamic tension between current and future. 12 to 18 months from now. Whichever way you choose to go with, now take that rich bank of information and begin populating each of the boxes of the lattice. Put in the information all over. Remember, take your time, reflect on it. Really very important. If you'd like to add another layer upon this, for those of you who are more tenured, more seasoned in terms of leading and managing, another layer that you can place upon this is your perception and the perception of others in each of the boxes. Now it's time to step back and reflect on what you've learned again. What do you notice are the connections between them? Where are there things that reinforced your understanding, your experience of them? Where are there elements that challenge you in terms of what is expected of you now and what you're delivering on, and what is expected of you in the future and what you may aspire to, your own aspirations? We've gotten the information and we've reflected. We've arranged it in a framework and we've reflected. Now it's time for step or stage number 3. Time to take action. In taking action, of course, we're going to introduce another visual to help along the way. So let's lay out a piece of paper or your journal in landscape orientation. Your page is now in landscape orientation. And what you'll do at this point is to simply place the qualities, characteristics, and attributes of the current situation in here, and place the qualities, attributes, and characteristics of the future aspiration that you have over here. Now, it doesn't have to be full, just use enough so that you get a sense of what you are seeking to do. Our next stage is then to connect one side to the other visually. So now they're visually connected. We'll add that part in there. The last thing that we'll do is we'll get a chance to Use a series of arrowheads to represent different occasions, different opportunities, different conscious moments where you'll get a chance to intentionally begin planning your movement from the current situation to the future. Another way of adding a layer to this is by adding in the business rhythm or the financial cycle, where you know there are cyclical events that take place in your organization. You can anticipate that on your journey over the next 12 to 18 months. The whole intention of this journey, as you're beginning to notice, is to make your efforts, your actions, much more conscious, much more aware, much more intentional, both for this role and your career. Now at this stage, it is time to take action, and yet the action will be a little bit different from what you were anticipating. My suggestion for you to take action at this stage is to involve someone else. Whether that person is a friend, an advisor, a mentor, or a coach. Get someone else who will be your outside accountability partner, who will be supportive and challenging your thinking over the next 12 to 18 months. They are critical to ensuring your success for this. In the end, the idea is to be more intentional with your development. Your leadership journey is awaiting you, and our journey together is going to continue. Thanks once again for joining us. Remember to like this video and add in comments. Feel free to share it, and importantly, be sure to subscribe. When you press that bell, it gives you the opportunity to choose how often you receive notifications when a new video has been loaded. Thanks again for joining us. I look forward to our ongoing journey.